thick cream cardstock, gold foiled lettering, an elegant serif font that screamed old money and desperate validation. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Anya Kapoor and Rohan Malhotra. It read, as if the world hadn't already been buzzing about it for months. The wedding of the year. A 5-day spectacle at a seaside palace resort, meant to drown every scandal the Kapoor family had ever buried, and to remind everyone that they were, above all, untouchable. I was surprised to receive one, not because I wasn't family, I was, unfortunately, but because my family had spent the last 5 years pretending I didn't exist. "You're invited," my mother had said over the phone days before the card arrived, her voice clipped and too formal, like a secretary calling to confirm an appointment. "But please don't draw attention to yourself. It's Anya's day. She's worked hard for this. Don't embarrass us." There it was again. Embarrass. That word clung to me like a shadow. I was the disappointment, the dropout, the one who left medical school in the final year because she couldn't breathe anymore. The one who called out Uncle Viren for touching her inappropriately at 16, only to be told she was confused and needed help. The one who refused to smile through family photos and pretend everything was fine. And in return, I had been cut out like a bruise on a ripe apple. Still, against my better judgment, I RSVP'd yes. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe a small, flickering hope that anyone, in that mess of a family would say, "Hey, we were wrong about you." Or maybe I just wanted closure. The resort was breathtaking. Perched on the Konkan coast, it glittered like something out of a dream. Ivory arches, cascading bougainvillea, canopies that swayed in the salt, kissed breeze. The sea shimmered beyond like it held secrets of its own. The Kapoor clan had rented out the entire property. Luxury bled from every corner: brass lanterns, live sitter performances, imported orchids flown in from Singapore. And beneath all that sparkle, the rot of a family obsessed with appearances. I arrived in a rented car wearing a simple mint green kurti and jeans, clutching the gift I had spent days choosing, an antique poetry collection Anya once loved as a child. No one greeted me at the gate. The receptionist raised a brow when I gave my name. "Oh," she said, "you're that cousin." She handed me a room key. "You've been put in the staff wing." There was a mix-up, of course. Inside the pre-wedding madness, I became a ghost. I drifted through halls packed with cousins, aunties, choreographers, and designers unnoticed, unwanted. Every room echoed with laughter that stopped when I entered. Every smile was plastic. Every greeting felt like someone choking on guilt. "Nice to see you, Beta," an aunt said, kissing the space beside my cheek. Still doing that NGO work, right? Or was it counseling? I can't keep track. It was trauma therapy. But no one wanted to hear that word. "Don't sit too close to the stage at the Sanjeet," Ma whispered later that night as we crossed paths near the buffet. "There are limited seats. Let the important guests be in front." I looked at her in her designer silk sari, dripping in emeralds, her lips painted in the same shade she used to smear across my cheek when she slapped me. And I said nothing, not because I was scared, because I was tired. The night before the wedding, I sat on the edge of the cliff behind the resort, watching waves break against the rocks below. My fingers brushed over the worn pages of the poetry book I had brought for Anya, now tucked into my lap like a forgotten secret. "You always did love hiding," a voice behind me said. I turned. Anya stood there, barefoot, her dupatta flying like a flag of surrender. "I wasn't hiding," I replied, just breathing. She sat beside me, careful not to wrinkle her engagement outfit. "I asked Ma to invite you, you know." I blinked. That I hadn't expected. "You were my best friend once," she said. "Before all that stuff, I didn't know what to say then. I was a kid. I didn't understand. I still don't." I looked at her, at the girl who used to braid my hair and whisper stories under the covers. The same girl who never spoke up when I cried after what Uncle Viren did. Who watched me fall and stayed silent. You don't have to explain, I said quietly. I've stopped expecting anything. She reached over and touched the poetry book. Is this for me? I nodded. Her eyes welled up. Thank you. And for a moment I saw the child again, not the bride draped in expectation. Then, just as quickly, she stood. You'll come to the wedding, right? I'll be there. And I would. Not because I wanted to be part of the celebration, but because something in the air had shifted, a whisper in the kitchens, a smell from the seafood delivery that didn't feel right, a cold sweat of intuition that clung to my spine. Something was wrong, and for once, I wasn't going to stay silent. I woke early, unable to sleep. A strange ache throbbed behind my ribs, a mix of dread and something I couldn't quite name. Restlessness, fear, a flicker of purpose that had long lain dormant. The resort staff wing buzzed quietly with the early movements of decorators, florists, and cooks. Somewhere far down the hallway, a D-Hull began its practice beats, muffled by the thick stone walls. I dressed quickly in a plain yellow kurta and walked out, letting instinct guide my steps. My feet carried me toward the back service kitchens, hidden from the glamour of the main wedding hall. I had no reason to be there, just a feeling. The large doors to the kitchen swung open on heavy hinges, letting out a wave of thick, humid air. Inside, it was chaos. Chefs barked orders, steam hissed from pressure cookers. Trays of samosas, kebabs, and elaborate fusion desserts lay half-ass, embled on every surface. But it was the seafood corner that made me stop. Near the industrial refrigerator, 3 sous chefs were lifting trays of shrimp, lobster, and fish onto preparation counters. A dull, sticky smell hit my nose, a scent I'd once smelled back in college when a friend's refrigerator had gone out during a power cut. Rotten, metallic, not right. I took a step forward. Excuse me, I said, catching one of the kitchen assistants. Is this seafood fresh? The man blinked at me. Of course, madam. Came in yesterday morning. Was it kept cold the entire time? The smell. Before I could finish, a loud voice cut across the room. Is there a problem here? It was Manish Uncle, the wedding planner. A short, balding man in a designer kurta and Bluetooth headset that made him look more like a stockbroker than someone who arranged mandap flowers. He gave me a tight smile. She's not staff. One of the chefs muttered, I'm family. I said, standing straighter. And I think this seafood is spoiled. It smells off. A Manish uncle gave a forced chuckle. Oh, beta, the smell is because it's being marinated. That's how seafood works. You probably don't cook much, do you? My jaw clenched. I do, and I've worked in trauma wards. I know what spoiled meat smells like. Now the kitchen had quieted. All eyes on me, he stepped closer. You're Anya's cousin, right? The one who, what was it, left med school because it was too hard. We don't need drama here, all right, it's a wedding. If you have food preferences, tell the servers. Later, he motioned to a junior assistant. Get her out of here, please. I opened my mouth to argue, but then I saw something. A slip of paper crumpled on the floor, a delivery invoice. I knelt quickly and picked it up. The seafood supplier listed wasn't the high-end vendor printed in the wedding catering brochure. It was some local name I didn't recognize, Sai Shakti Seafoods. I pocketed it before they could see. Something was wrong, and they were hiding it. I tried again. At breakfast, I pulled me aside while she was fussing with her sari pleats. I think the seafood may be spoiled. I went to the kitchen and, oh my God, she said, rolling her eyes. Can you just not? She wasn't even angry, just tired of me, tired of my voice, my concerns, my existence. I'm trying to help, I said quietly. No, you're trying to be the center of attention again. You always do this. Anya is getting married. don't make this about you." And with that, she walked away, just like she always did. I found Anya next. She was in the bridal suite, surrounded by makeup artists and stylists, her lehenga skirt spread out like a royal carpet. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice low. She looked at me in the mirror. "Now, it's important, about the food, the seafood." She held up a hand. "Please don't." My chest tightened. "Anya, I'm not trying to ruin anything, but I smelled something off. I saw the vendor. It's not the one you're doing it again," she whispered. "What, this thing you do, this chaos? I let you come because I thought maybe, just maybe, we could be okay again, but this," her voice cracked. "Please, don't make a scene. Not today. Not at my wedding." 100 memories crashed into me at once, braiding each other's hair, watching horror movies under the covers, her voice screaming when I bled in the bathroom after Uncle Vyrn's touch. And now this. I turned to leave, then stopped. "Did you know they changed the seafood supplier?" I asked. "Because if you didn't approve it, someone else did." She didn't answer. That evening, the guests began arriving in flocks too, 100 of them, dressed in silk and sequins and diamond smiles. The mandap was set up on a platform overlooking the sea. Golden hour lit everything in magic, and behind all the laughter, the music, the glamour was something festering. I stood by the bar, watching trays of shrimp cocktails and lobster bisque glide past on silver platters. Waiters smiled, guests clinked glasses. Somewhere, mannish uncle gave a cue, and the kitchen began preparing the main course. Seafood thali served family style. I checked the time, 45 minutes until dinner was served, and no one had listened to me. Not my mother, not Anya, not a single person in that wretched, beautiful family. If I said something now, stood up, and interrupted the night, I'd be laughed at, dragged out, branded a lunatic. But if I said nothing, people could die. Food poisoning from shellfish wasn't a joke. It could cause seizures, organ damage, death. My hands trembled as I pulled the delivery invoice from my pocket again, reading the fine print. It was dated 2 days ago. Improperly stored seafood can go toxic within hours. Add the heat, the salt air, the negligence, and it was a disaster waiting to happen. I looked around, grandparents, children, pregnant guests, elders with heart conditions. My stomach turned. They would never forgive me if I ruined this wedding, but I would never forgive myself if I let them eat that food. I pulled out my phone and started dialing the Food Safety Authority. It was the kind of silence that wrapped itself around the wedding venue just before the announcement of dinner. The kind that made your pulse throb in your ears, that squeezed your lungs until you couldn't breathe, until you knew something was about to break. I stood just behind the curtain leading into the main banquet lawn. Beyond it, 200 guests mingled under the fairy lights, taking selfies, sipping cocktails, posing for drones. Anya stood on stage with Rohan, draped in crimson and gold, glowing like a goddess from another lifetime. And I was about to ruin her perfect picture. My fingers shook as I clutched the phone. The voice on the other end was calm, professional, and efficient. "This is the Regional Food Safety Officer," the woman said. "We've dispatched a team to your location. Estimated arrival, 15 minutes. Please do not allow anyone to consume the seafood in question." 15 minutes? But dinner was being served now. Waiters were already placing the first platters of seafood thali onto ornate tables. Aromas of prawn curry, grilled lobster, and butter garlic fish wafted through the air, drawing delighted gasps from the guests. The DJ started playing soft instrumental music. Glasses clinked. Children squealed with laughter. I walked toward the dining area. No one saw me, no one expected me until I reached the first table and did the unthinkable. I picked up a silver platter of shrimp and threw it onto the ground. Gasps erupted like firecrackers. A middle-aged auntie leapt to her feet. "What the hell? Don't eat the seafood," I shouted loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's contaminated. It's spoiled." For a second, Everyone just stared, like I'd just announced the apocalypse. And then came the stampede. My mother was the first to reach me, face livid, eyes blazing. "What are you doing?" she hissed, dragging me by the arm toward the bar. "Are you insane? The seafood is spoiled," I said, yanking my arm back. I went into the kitchens. I smelled it. I saw the supplier invoice. They switched vendors without informing anyone. "I've already called the food safety department." "You called the government?" She nearly shrieked. "Yes," I said calmly, "I did." "You are mentally disturbed," she said, venom dripping from every word. "You need help. This is jealousy. You've always hated seeing other people happy. You're making a scene for attention as always." More guests had gathered around now. Anya had descended from the stage, her veil pulled back, her face pale. "What's going on?" she asked breathlessly. "Your cousin thinks the food is." "What, poisoned?" Rohan scoffed behind her. "Not poisoned, spoiled," I said. "The seafood, it smells off. I've handled patients with foodborne illness. This is the same smell. It's dangerous." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some guests began backing away from their plates. Others laughed nervously. Then someone threw a napkin down. "She's just trying to ruin the wedding," muttered a man I didn't recognize, probably one of Rohan's uncles. "She's always been dramatic, ask anyone." "I'm just trying to save people," I said quietly. "You don't have to believe me, just don't eat the seafood." A pause. Then suddenly, "Stop her," a mannish uncle yelled, storming toward me. "Get her out of here, now." 2 security guards appeared as if summoned by magic, ready to escort me out. And in that moment, something in me cracked. The grief of years of silence, humiliation, gaslighting, and abandonment boiled over like an untended pot. I stepped up onto the low platform at the center of the lawn, grabbed a microphone from the stunned DJ, and looked out at the crowd. "If anyone here has kids," I said, my voice echoing through the speakers, "or elderly parents, if anyone here has heart conditions, pregnancy, or compromised immunity, do not eat the seafood. I am not crazy. I am not jealous. I am a trauma therapist and a former medical student. I know what food poisoning looks like. If you eat it, you'll regret it." Whispers exploded. Guests began looking at their plates. Several people stopped mid-bite. Anya stepped forward, eyes brimming with tears. "Why are you doing this?" she whispered. "Because I care more about you than your wedding planner does," I replied. Then, like divine timing, sirens pierced the night. 3 food safety officers entered the venue in uniform, followed by resort security. Within moments, they were in the kitchen. I followed them, heart thudding. They took samples of the seafood, opened the fridge, checked the delivery dates. The lead officer, a stern woman with decades of experience in her eyes, looked at me and nodded grimly. "This seafood should never have been served," she said. "It's borderline toxic. The storage temperature has been well above the safety limit. Anyone who eats it is at risk for severe illness. You did the right thing." I exhaled. For the first time in years, I felt my lungs again. But outside, all hell had broken loose. Some guests had already started vomiting. An elderly man collapsed and had to be carried into the shade. Paramedics were called. Children cried. The DJ shut off the music. The fairy lights flickered in the rising panic. My mother stood near the mandap, her makeup streaking, screaming into her phone. Anya sat alone on a bench, lehenga bunched around her knees, staring at the ground. I approached slowly. She looked up at me, face crumpling. "You were right." I sat beside her, too late for that. I said softly, "But thank you." She leaned into my shoulder and cried, not for the wedding ruined, but maybe for the years we'd both lost pretending this family hadn't broken us. The wedding was officially canceled within the hour. Ambulances took away a dozen guests. News crews started arriving. Somebody had already posted about the seafood wedding scandal on social media. The resort was being investigated. The catering team was arrested. And me, I walked back to my room, changed into jeans, packed my bag and checked out quietly. I didn't say goodbye, not to my mother, not to Manish uncle, not even to Anya. They could deal with their truths now. I'd spoken mine, and I was done being their silence. 3 days after the wedding that wasn't, the resort's name trended on Twitter. 200 guests saved from seafood catastrophe by black sheep cousin family tried to silence her. Some headlines called it a food scandal. Others, a family drama, but most focused on me, the girl who spoke up, the one who ruined the wedding to save lives. Apparently, one of the guests was a minor food blogger with a massive following. She'd recorded the whole thing, the shouting, the moment I threw the shrimp tray, the food safety officer's confirmation. The video went viral. By the end of the week, I was flooded with messages. "Thank you for saving my daughter. I thought you were being dramatic. I was wrong. You're a hero. You should have slapped them with a lawsuit." I didn't respond to most of them because I wasn't looking for applause. I just wanted to breathe again. I returned home to my small one-bedroom apartment with peeling paint and creaky floors, but at least it was mine. Quiet, clean, free of fake smiles and ancient lies. My therapy practice picked up almost immediately. Word of mouth traveled fast. I even got a call from a local women's safety NGO asking if I'd give a talk on speaking up when it hurts. Funny how things work. For years, my family said I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too loud. Now, those same traits had saved lives. 2 weeks later, I received a voice message from Anya. "Hey, I'm sorry for everything. I've been thinking a lot. Rohan and I called off the wedding completely, not just because of the scandal. I realized I didn't even know who I was marrying. I realized I didn't even know me. You were right about everything. I should have stood by you years ago. I was just scared. I still am, but I'm trying. I hope we can talk again someday." I listened to the message once, then again, and for the first time, I didn't cry. I didn't ache for her approval. I didn't feel anything but calm. I deleted it because I didn't need closure anymore. My mother didn't call. Of course she didn't, but I did hear through an old classmate that she was devastated by the wedding scandal. Apparently, her social circle had turned cold. A few people even whispered that she had raised a troublemaker who destroyed her niece's wedding, but someone else whispered something louder. She raised a daughter who tells the truth. The real surprise came in a thick envelope weeks later. A legal notice, not against me, but against the caterers and the wedding planner. My testimony was requested for a formal investigation into food negligence and criminal endangerment. The state was pressing charges. I smiled as I read it. They had laughed at me, called me unstable, overdramatic. Now I was their primary witness, the one person who did the right thing. Months passed, seasons changed, and slowly the pain did too. I started teaching part-time at a local college psychology classes about trauma, boundaries, and emotional abuse. I spoke at schools, shelters, women's conferences, but more than anything, I learned to stop needing people who didn't know how to love me. And then one rainy evening, as I sat on my balcony with a cup of chai and the sea moaning in the distance, my phone pinged with a message from a number I didn't recognize. "I used to be like your family. Now I'm trying to be more like you. Thank you." I didn't know who sent it, but I smiled anyway. Somewhere in a dusty wedding album that no one opens anymore, I'm probably cropped out of every photo. They'll say I ruined everything. They'll say I embarrassed the family. They'll say I destroyed the wedding. But they'll never say I was wrong, because I wasn't. I saved 200 people from food poisoning. I saved a cousin from a marriage she didn't want. And in the process, I saved myself from silence, from shame, from pretending to be less than who I am.